subdomain is an additional part of the main domain name. It is also known as a child domain of the domain name. The most common subdomain is the www subdomain, but you can have many other different types of subdomain. Let's say, for example, you have a domain name examples.com. You can have subdomains such as blog.examples.com or store.examples.com or forum.examples.com. If you go on our website, Enterprises Assembly, you'll notice that we also have a blog subdomain and a forum subdomain. So subdomains are created to organize different parts of the website for improved navigation. Subdomains are a good way to separate different parts of the website. You can also use subdomains to target different segments of the market. For example, if you take the world's biggest online store like Shein or Shane, you'll notice that they have the euro.shane.com, which is customized for the European customer. You also have the zar.shane.com, which is for South African customers. You also have the ru.shane.com, which is for the Russian customer base. You can have the same website and customize it for different customers using subdomains. And you'll notice that if you go to each of the subdomains, you'll have different currencies. The language will be different. You're able to customize the same website for different customer segments using subdomains. So how do you create a subdomain? In this video, I'll be showing you how you can create a subdomain. To create your own subdomain, go to your cPanel. And in the cPanel, go to Domains. Under Domains, go to Subdomains. To check how many subdomains you can create, go on the stats to check how many. So as you can see, I have created 3 subdomains, but I can create an infinity amount of subdomains. So check how many subdomains you can create and how many you have created before creating one. So click on the subdomain feature. You'll notice that you'll have a list of created subdomains underneath the subdomains field. So to create a subdomain, under your subdomain, enter the name of your subdomain. So this can be blog, it can be forums, it can be shop, it can be store, whatever subdomain you want to create, enter it in the subdomain field. So after entering your subdomain, you don't need to enter the domain name, but if you have more than one domain name, make sure that the correct domain name is selected in the drop-down field. And then go to your document root. You'll notice that the document root will automatically be added. What you need to do is go to the front of the document root and enter public underscore HTML / then the subdomain name. So enter public underscore HTML / domain name. So the reason why you enter the public underscore HTML before the document root is to ensure that your folder for your subdomain is added onto the public folder. If you don't put in the public underscore HTML, your document root will just be added anywhere on the file manager folder. So after adding your subdomain and ensuring that the correct domain has been selected in the drop-down menu, and adding the public underscore HTML / before your subdomain, click the create button. So when the subdomain has been created, you will notice that you get a notification telling you that you have successfully created the subdomain. You can go back. After creating the subdomain, you'll notice that it is now added on the list of subdomains. Just copy the subdomain that you've just created and go to your browser. and then add the subdomain that you've just created on your browser. If you have managed to successfully create your subdomain, you'll see the index of name, last modified, site description on your web page. If you don't see these, maybe you should get in contact with your web host provider and notify them. The thing is, if you don't see this information, when you start adding things like your WordPress, you're not going to be able to configure them because they will not be showing up on your subdomain. So ensure that you can see the index of / information on your subdomain. This should notify you that it has been successfully created. Now that you've successfully created your subdomain, let's go into the folder and add our WordPress. To add WordPress onto the subdomain, go back to your cPanel. If we go back to your subdomain, if you don't want to use this route, you can just click on the document route, but we're not going to use the document route. I'll just show you the manual way of getting into your subdomain. So go to your files, and under files, go to your file manager. And under file manager, look for the public_HTML folder. And then you should see all the subdomains that have been created. So go to the subdomain that you've just created. To add WordPress on your subdomain, go to your web browser, go to wordpress.org. Click on Get WordPress. And then download the latest version of WordPress. After downloading WordPress, go back to your subdomain folder. Go to Upload, click on the Upload, and then drag and drop the WordPress folder that you have just downloaded. So drag the folder. If you're having difficulty dragging and dropping, you can also click the select file and then go to your downloads and select the WordPress zip folder that you've just downloaded. After uploading your WordPress, go back to the subdomain folder. You'll notice that you now have the WordPress zip folder that you've just downloaded. Click on the zip folder and extract the files. So click extract files, close. So you'll notice that now you have the yellow WordPress folder and the zip WordPress folder. You no longer need the zip WordPress folder, so you can just delete that. So click on it and delete. You can choose to permanently delete and confirm. Now you have the WordPress folder inside the subdomain folder. So let's go into the WordPress folder. So what we want to do is extract all the WordPress files from the WordPress folder into the subdomain folder. So to do that, click the select all button and then move, and then remove the WordPress after the subdomain. Click move. You can leave the / if you want, it doesn't make a difference. So what we've just done is move all the files that were in the WordPress folder into the subdomain folder. Click up one level. So now the WordPress folder is empty, so you can just delete it. You can skip trash and permanently delete. So now that we've added or uploaded the WordPress files onto the subdomain folder, go to your browser and to your subdomain. So remember we had the index of / indicating that we have just created our subdomain, but there was nothing inside the subdomain, so that's why you saw the index of. If you refresh the subdomain website, you'll now notice that the WordPress has been added onto your subdomain website. What we're seeing is the uploaded version of WordPress. It's not yet installed. So to install it, we need to follow the configuration setup. So select the language that you want your website to be in and click continue. You'll notice that to successfully set up your WordPress, you'll need the database name, the database username, the database password, the database host, and the table prefix. So to create these, you'll need to go back to your cPanel and go to databases. So go to cPanel, and in cPanel, go to databases and click MySQL databases. So a database is just a storage for your files. So there are different types of databases. You have your MySQL, which stores information in a tabular form, and you have a non-SQL. So this one is more for images and sound and videos because they're not stored in tabular format. To create your database, you need to add a database name. So give your database a name under the new database. This can be any name as long as you can remember it, because you'll need to use this information to configure your WordPress. After entering the name of your database, you can click the create database. Then you'll get a notification telling you that you have successfully created your database. Just go back. If you go to the list of databases that you have under current databases, you'll notice that the database that you have just created has been added. You'll notice that the created database currently has 0 bytes undersize and there are no privileged users. So to add users onto the database, go under MySQL users. So under MySQL users, add the username and give it a password. Again, remember that you're going to need the password to configure your WordPress. So make sure that you enter a password that you can remember. And after entering your password, create users. You'll get a notification telling you that you have successfully created your MySQL users. Then go back. You'll notice that under the current tables, even though you've created your users, you still have no privileged users. And that's because we have not assigned privileges to your MySQL user. To add privileges, go to add user to database and then click the user that you've added. Click the database. And then add. You'll be redirected to manage user privileges. Here, select the all privileges and then make changes. So you'll get a successful notification after you've added all the privileges. Click go back. Now, when you go back to your current databases, you'll notice that the database that you've created now has privileged users. Now we're ready to configure our WordPress. So go back to the WordPress setup configuration and click Let's Go. Under database name, username and password, enter the database name, username and password that you added while creating the database. So after providing your database name, username, password, you can leave the last two options, your database host and table prefix, as they are, and just click submit. When you've entered all the information correctly, you'll get a notification asking you to run installation. So click the run installation button. So after running installation, you'll be redirected to a page where you will be required to add information. So this information will show up on your WordPress admin settings. If you are not sure of the site title and email, you don't have to be sure of those right now. You can just, the most important things to add here are your username, password, and your email. So make sure that those are provided, and make sure you provide a password that you can remember and a username that you can also remember. You don't have to add the site title right now. So after adding the username, password, and your email, you can click the install WordPress button. So you'll get a successful notification telling you that your WordPress has been installed. Click the login button and then enter your username and password. These are the ones you provided in the information section of your WordPress configuration setup. Then click the login button. Now you have successfully created your subdomain and you have added WordPress on your subdomain. In the next video, I'm going to show you how you can SSL secure your website, because at the moment your website is not going to be SSL secured. Even though the main domain is SSL certified or SSL secured, that doesn't mean that the subdomains will also be SSL secured. You'll need to SSL secure the subdomain as well. I'll see you in the next video.